So, what if the medicine your body needs isn't in a bottle, but in your breath? So, today's guest has trained Olympic athletes, executives, and everyday people to unlock resilience, balance hormones, and transform stress into fuel for growth. Welcome to the Life Lounge podcast. This is your front row seat to everything happening inside Life Network. I am your host, Carrie Johnson, and each week we bring you top voices, transformational brands, and insider updates you don't want to miss. This is where self-transformation meets community, because when we grow together, we go farther. Let's dive in. So today's guest is Ed Harrold. He is an author, inspirational leader, speaker, coach, educator, and his mastery in the science of mindful breathing blends the fields of neuroscience and contemplative traditions into strategies that improve health, well-being, and performance. He's the author of Life with Breath, IQ plus EQ equals New You. I absolutely love that title. And Mind Body Business, the business of being within. Ed has provided programs for GW School of Medicine, Goldie Hawn's Mind Up, and his work has been studied by Harvard Medical. He's also the breath vendor for LinkedIn and founder of Go Be Great. Welcome to the Life Lounge podcast, Ed. Thank you for being here.
Carrie, you're the best. I'm so excited to be with you.
Oh my gosh. Well, we are grateful to have you. So not only, Ed is a contributor also to the Breath Source as well. I forgot to mention that. And he, as you can see, the list is long in his accomplishments, but he's just truly just a gift to humanity, I want to say. So, and we all need the tools that he is, putting out there in the world today more than ever. So, Ed, thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate your kind welcome.
Oh, so, for myself, I've had, I'm a mom of 3, work full time. There's more days that I can count where stress kind of hijacks my body before I start to realize it. And thankfully now I'm starting to learn, some breath tips and tricks, and that I really notice that I'm able to shift into the person that I'm meant to be versus like having stress kind of hijack everything. But it is not always automatic. We really have to kind of train ourselves, I do feel, in order to really become who we're supposed to be instead of it just being reactive mode. So I would love you to just kind of take us back, kind of your personal wake-up call, because it's, for most people, it is kind of like a pain to purpose story. So when did you realize that breath kind of became your medicine?
Well, I grew up in the late 60s, early 70s, an American athlete, football, baseball, basketball, push harder, no pain, no gain, all of that mindset. And, it served me well. I was young and I could push through things. And in the late 80s, early 90s, I became a professional marathon swimmer.
Wow.
And I spent a lot of time in the water, spent a lot of time in my mind. And I began to see that there was magic in breath control.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1995, I got trained with one of the greatest yoga masters in the world on how to use the breath. And it began to awaken parts of me, which my ego had developed when I was a younger athlete, which was actually causing me the most rigidity in my mind, causing me pain in my emotional states. And I really had a lot of self-doubt and questions about myself, and I really wasn't getting anywhere. So I began to control my breath, and I could get into the deeper states of my brain, the deeper brainwave patterns. I was able to start to control my heart rate. I was able to burn fat instead of store fat.
Right.
And kind of clear up some of the memories of the past that, let's just say, I wish I wasn't part of.
I know,
but it's all part of just being a young man growing up in America. You almost have to go through what you don't want to get what you want in life.
You do. That's most often the case.
In 1995, I started my business, Go Be Great, and it was all about breath control and controlling mental states, burning fat, great patterns of movement in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And I began to see that whether you were a competitive athlete or whether you were a business owner or an employee, or you were just having difficulties in relationships,
right,
stuck in your life, no creativity, no curiosity anymore. I began to see it was all linked to improper breathing.
Amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, there really is a link for all of those that you just mentioned, for every single person, from the athlete to the mom.
It's all the same stuff inside us. whether you're a person who feels first and thinks second, or thinks first and feels second, it really doesn't matter. Because when you can begin to control your breath, you begin to get access in the parts of your brain that allow you to grow. When you begin to control your breath, you begin to manage your emotions. Your emotions don't manage you. And you begin to see that you are the creator of your life. Your yesterday has brought you into today. You've chiseled your body, the shape of your body based on your mind. And this is the direct reflection of how you feel about yourself at this moment of your life.
Yeah.
So how do we get folks into the present moment?
Yes.
That's where the action is.
Yes. And it's hard for a lot of people because they're stuck in the past, right? Or very too far into the future, like anxious or depressed, basically.
Yeah, I've never been to my past, but I've thought about it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been to my future, but I think about it a lot.
Right.
But I have been in the present moment, or reality, or real life. So using the breath as a tool to access what's happening right now. What can I co-create with the creative forces of the universe in a shorter period of time than it took me to do it the last time, in any subjective or objective state, regardless of platform that you're working in. So if you're going to change your mind about something, it has to take place in the present moment. So as soon as you begin to use your sense organs mindfully, in other words, I'm choosing to use my eyes to focus directly on what's in front of me. I'm not wandering. I'm using my mind to control the length, depth, and pace of my inhale and exhale. I'm breathing mindfully. Now I begin to hear mindfully. I begin to taste mindfully and feel and sense mindfully.
Powerful.
Something begins to turn on inside our brainstem that allows us to leave the animal self and begin to make decisions, executive decisions, about who we really have been all along the way.
Wow. That's powerful. Like, that's such a very powerful way to think about it, because without those tools, like we do tend to unfortunately resort to the animal self. So
Yeah. And everybody on earth right now, let's face it, there isn't a person down here who isn't struggling.
Yeah.
There isn't a person down here who isn't asking bigger questions today than they asked yesterday about themselves, loved ones, team members, co-workers. We're at a curious time. And I've never seen so many people asking so many of the bigger questions about, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And I just think that's huge, that there's so many humans asking questions before, where when I was a kid growing up, we were all just cattle. You did what mom and dad did, and mom and dad did what grandfather and grandma did. And everybody just had the blinders on, and we were just doing our thing. And it worked out pretty well. But our awareness right now as a human being in our solar plexus, we kind of know like the jig is up. Like it's time to wake up. Let's wake up. And most folks, I don't know about you, but if I have to get up earlier than when I want to get up, I'm usually a little grumpy.
Very true.
So,
Yes, me too.
If you're a little grumpy about what's going on, how can we harness that in a positive way? In other words, you can't fix stressful situations in your life unless you've been triggered. This has to happen on the fly. What is the one tool that you have all the time that you can use on the fly is you can control your breath?
Because that's the very first thing that we had as soon as we were here on Earth.
Exactly. As soon as you came out of your mother, the first thing it is, they cleaned your airway. And then what happened? Then you began to breathe through your nose, because the DNA and RNA, your body wants you to breathe through the nose. It doesn't want you to breathe through your mouth unless you're in a life-threatening situation, or unless you're hunting and you need to take a lot of energy to get food, or you're running away from being someone else's food.
Yeah.
So the DNA and RNA of our body wants us all to nasal breathe. It wants that air to come up through our cranial nerves, come down the trachea, push the thoracic diaphragm down, activate the microbiome, strengthen the spine, support parasympathetic activity in the lungs. The fastest animal on earth is the cheetah. It runs 70 miles an hour breathing through its nose. The
Yeah.
only people struggling on earth are the people who are hyperventilating, and they're the humans. They're the ones that can't sleep at night. These are the ones that are overthinking every little thing and have left our instincts of what we should be doing as a species. And now everything is intellect and lots of thoughts.
Why do you think that is?
That's a tricky question.
know. Yeah. Wondering if you could enlighten me.
Well, I think there's a lot going on. We have a lot of electrical stimulation coming into our autonomic nervous system and our central nervous system that we didn't have 30 years ago. We've got a lot of computers and radiation. We have cell phones and radiation. We also have the ability to breathe through our mouth and begin to set in motion breathing in that fashion. And the brain doesn't know the difference. The brain just does what you tell it to do. It's basically a secondary organ. So once you start to set in motion patterns, at some point you have to stop and reflect and say, is this who I want to be? And when you get to that point, it's a magical point because you get to go back and rewrite your story. You get to go back and rewrite your perception of yourself and self-value, self-confidence. So I think the brain is under a massive amount of electricity and radiation.
Agreed.
And it's causing us to lose our instincts. And we're turning on many thoughts. And some folks can handle many thoughts better than others. Some folks are great feelers. They're very sensitive. And it can become very chaotic in that monkey mind very quickly. Other folks, have a very sharp intellect and they enjoy all these thoughts. And that's the great diversity of humanity. But in today's world, it just seems like our autonomic nervous system has been hijacked. We're living in a stressful, worn out state. We're overthinking things. We're self-doubting our thoughts. We're over or under feeling things based on whether we're attracted to it or repulsed to it.
Right.
And we've kind of lost our way. The balance beam has gotten smaller and it's easier to fall off faster these days.
That's a good analogy.
So when you think about the autonomic system, you have to think about the nostrils and breathing.
Okay.
We know that the right nostril, when it's more open than the left, is sympathetic. And you're going to have more cortisol. You're going to have more adrenaline. You're going to have a little spike in your step. And we know that the left nostril is parasympathetic on the inhale. And when that's efficient, there's a little more recovery. There's a slower sense of self in the thought forms. And these will switch every few hours in regard to which one's more efficient or deficient based on what season we're in, winter, spring, summer, or fall. So your autonomic nervous system is based on your nostrils, which is basically an HVA system. It's a heating and air conditioning system.
Yeah.
And it knows through your eyes and your suprachiasmatic nucleus of your eyes what season you're in, what's your longitude and latitude. So it tries to keep us dialed in to nature because nature is our primary teacher, Mother Earth.
Body's amazing. Like, it's just fascinating.
It's so deep in there. You can close your eyes and all of a sudden it's as big as the Grand Canyon. And, when you start to create a relationship with your breath, you begin to go organically and naturally deeper inside yourself.
Right.
And the deeper you go, it's much like a diver who leaves the surface of a rough wave and starts to go down to the bottom. And as you go down to the bottom, things get a little more quiet. There's more stillness. There's more silence. Silence is the best teacher. If we can just get to the point where we can get some silence and stillness in our mind, the goodness that's in each of us begins to come up. I don't know of one person who said, Ed, I've gone deeper inside myself and I didn't like it. It's just, we've got to penetrate our story, penetrate our armor. And, you have to be relaxed for that to happen or the brain will resist that.
Exactly.
The amygdala thinks you're in danger. If you're taking more than 12 breaths a minute, you're making all of your decisions all day long in a sympathetic state, a fight or flight, animalistic type state. Nothing is different. It's the same old thing every day of the week. And things get rough in there.
So for somebody who they're like, that's exactly me. Like, I know that I'm, very reactionary, especially with everything going on in the world right now. And, we are stimulated, unfortunately, by everything on the news. And, like you were talking about, like EMFs, and we're just bombarded constantly. So somebody's like, okay, where do I start? Because I definitely know I'm always in fight or flight right now. What should they do?
Well, a lot of the ancient systems talked about starting with the exhale and controlling the exhale. And I found that we're in such a hyper state of activity that we need, as a culture, to begin on the inhale. So noticing how you're breathing right now. How does that affect your spine, your posture? How does
Mm-hmm.
that affect your mind? Can you ground yourself in your lower body mechanics? Can you allow your eyes and jaw to completely relax?
Yeah.
So, number one, I would say slow your inhale down. So as soon as you slow your inhale down, you're taking something which is normally sympathetic and spiking to the heart rate, and you're adding parasympathetic or relaxation serotonin qualities to something which is normally sympathetic. So as soon as you slow your inhale, you'll notice your thoracic diaphragm, which separates your belly from your chest, is going to vertically press down towards your navel. And when it does that, it allows the diaphragm to support lumbar 4-5, where the chiropractors talk so much about where we're contracted or where our hips are over rotated.
Right.
So when we slow the inhale down, you want to think about your floating ribs, the ones that aren't attached to the sternum,
Yeah.
starting to pull down,
Okay.
massaging your liver and gallbladder,
Okay.
your stomach and spleen, straightening your spine, and bringing a fresh flow of energy down into your psoas muscles, which is actually the muscle that lifts your legs up when you walk or run or ride or whatever it may be. The
Okay.
psoas muscles, very, very important, deep muscles they have tendons that are actually connected to the diaphragm muscle.
And they could get pretty tight, right? Like
Oh gosh.
yeah.
So, the lower body's great. It provides a lot of stability and it doesn't have a lot of mobility, but you can build mobility.
Right.
The upper body has a lot of mobility, but doesn't have a lot of stability.
Yeah.
And somehow all this makes sense when you begin to look at the DNA, which is a double helix, like a ladder. And when you look at the DNA, the body moves in a cross-patterning sequence.
Mm-hmm.
So your right hip is working with your left shoulder, and your
Right.
left hip is working with your right shoulder. And
Right.
remarkably, that X crosses right at your solar plexus. And what's right there? Well, your thoracic diaphragm muscle. Well,
Wow.
your interior nervous system.
Okay.
Well, your microbiome. Well, all this serotonin and dopamine. Well,
Yes.
now we're starting to get somewhere. And we
Okay.
just slowed our inhale down.
Goodness. I had no idea. That's amazing. That's a great scientific lesson, but it all makes sense too. Like we were talking about, just the body's just so powerful then. So then for somebody like, okay, I need to incorporate this into my practice. I don't know, which breath should I do because there's so many out there, or like, how can they add this into their life?
So once you slow down your inhale and you get the air low and slow into the lower lobes of your lungs, you're going to feel more. And any thought that doesn't want to be felt is going to require some work. That's
Okay.
a trigger for you.
Very true. Right.
So really, the feeling world is really important. If you're an athlete, a business owner, someone struggling with sleep, we have to feel better about ourselves. We have to slow that down.
Yeah.
So when you're inhaling, you take it down and then you ride it up to your collarbone. So you have these two life jackets, and this helps the ribs flare like gills and the intercostals will contract. Because remember, your lungs aren't muscle. Your lungs are tissue. And they're only going to be able to expand and retract based on the strength of your muscles of inhale and the flexibility of the ribs and the strength of the muscles of exhale, and how
Right.
much CO2 you can squeeze out. So my advice would be, number one is slow your inhale, straighten your spine, relax the features of your face.
Okay.
And then once your inhale is complete and you're oxygenated, stop breathing for a couple seconds. Notice what happens. As soon as you take a controlled breath hold for just a couple seconds, notice the ticker tape of you, the movie of me,
Mm.
stops.
That's
It's
crazy.
completely blank. There is no thought there. There is
Hmm.
no emotion there.
Okay.
There is no storyline there.
Yeah.
And getting comfortable in that little gap. Now that's where you can place something there,
Okay.
maybe an intention, an
Okay.
idea, strategy that you would like to see come to your physical world.
Okay.
So slow the inhale, get oxygenated, straight spine, then
Mm-hmm.
hold the breath in. Not long. I'm not recommending depriving the brain of oxygen, but just enough to stop this thing for a minute.
Yeah.
And
Like
then
when you
you
be trying.
begin to see, wow, if I can stop that thought, I can stop any thought
Mm.
anytime I want to
Mm-hmm.
when I'm feeling threatened,
Yes.
when I've been triggered.
And that's where the power is right there.
It's all about mind control.
Mm-hmm.
See, the secret of breath control isn't just physiological, isn't just chemical. It's mind control.
Yeah.
You must take control of the steering wheel of you, or it will take over you and it'll take you someplace maybe you don't want to go. You must affirm your right to
Yes.
choose your reality. And if you don't and you give that away, you're a slave to who you've been previous to that
In the
moment.
past.
Now, that
Or
might be okay, but it's
yeah.
not anything new.
True. But then it's also reverting back to the animalistic tendencies like we talked about too, versus being your higher level self and
Exactly.
able to respond with thought and purpose and patience and grace and love versus like reactivity and hate and
Yeah.
something
Or,
that we don't
your
want to be.
brain's not designed to make you happy. You have to program happy.
Yeah.
Your brain isn't designed to be positive no matter what the situation. You have to wire that in.
Okay.
You have to consciously become aware of positive things
Mm-hmm.
and place it in your subconscious, your cerebellum, the back of the brain, the small brain, the
Right.
subconscious, which basically runs the show. And it's
Yeah.
a lot faster than the conscious brain.
Okay.
So you want to get control right early in the morning. As
Yeah.
soon as you open your eyes, you
Yes.
get control of your breath and you get control of this thing and you fill yourself with positivity. I can do this. I am more than possible and capable of controlling this mind. And no
Yeah.
matter what comes my way today, I am going to control it. It is not going to control me
That's
based
good.
on who I was years ago.
That's good. And it starts right there, first thing in the morning when you
Right.
open your
You've
eyes.
got to program yourself before you get into the washroom
Yeah.
because you're coming out of those unconscious delta waves. You're moving into a little faster wave called theta, which is a masterful state that kids are in, where you're just downloading information and making notes.
Yeah.
So true transformation really happens seamlessly in that theta state where you're not fully awake and you're not fully asleep. So as you come out of the theta, the next is the alpha state. It's a little faster. There's gaps in between the sentences. And then you have the beta brain, the 9 to 5, where it's just boom, 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 boom. And you're either taking punches or giving punches. So
Yes.
set yourself in motion early. Set the bar a little bit further than you did before. Don't be unrealistic to a point where you're probably going to not be able to do it.
That's the
Just
thing.
know your benchmark. You know you better than you know anything else in your life, and you know what you could do. So just set the benchmark in the morning a fraction above what you think you can do and go for that.
Okay. No, that's super good advice because a lot of times a lot of people nowadays are like grabbing their phones first thing in the morning and they're like, scrolling and, whatnot. But yeah, take control of your thoughts right then in theta stage. And do you write a certain amount of time, length of time that needs to be done?
30 seconds.
Okay. I was going to say it doesn't take very long. Yeah,
When you
that's
get
good.
good at it, it's just a second. It's like, I will be the light today for myself and maybe others who've lost their light just for this day.
Mm, I like that phrase for others that have lost their light because I mean, and we all need that extension of love and grace because we all tend to lose our light on certain days, or maybe we're too reactive. So we all need that extension of grace. But how can we be that light and grace to somebody else? And we can't necessarily do that if we're pouring from an empty cup or we're in a reactive mode. So yeah, that's really good. I love that, Ed. Such a good tip.
Yeah, you have to monitor yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I know as a man, I have to have purpose. I have to what makes me happy is setting a good example or being that person who's holding somebody else's hand who's going through that dark night, or
Yeah.
reached a point in sports where they can't really get to where they want to go, or they have a business that just seems to be struggling and they can't seem to get out of their own way. And the same
Right.
arguments take place in the boardroom and nothing ever gets done.
Yeah.
So I think we all need to dream bigger and bigger
Yeah.
every day.
That's good.
And I think that's why we have this mind. It's our mind that's under attack, really. The forces that be out here, the puppet masters, whatever you may be, they're attacking our mind, and they're placing magnetic thought forms that you don't have power, that you don't have value, that you aren't lovable just how you are, that the gifts that you bring to the table of life were never big enough. And we start to buy into this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom line is all of us are 1,000 times more powerful than we care let on to. And some folks, that power, they get scared of all the power they have. It's like, wow, I am really, really powerful. But we just look into the wrong places. So
True.
for folks that are endurance athletes,
Mm-hmm.
You got to break your ego down
Yeah.
to get into that second and third wind
True.
that's stored as you progressively go deeper into the fire of the body.
Okay.
And as you get into that second and third wind, well, what's one thing that's not there? Fear. What's another thing? Insecurity. What else comes up? I am unstoppable. I'm a battery. I'm a nuclear battery of power connected to the source, and I will not be denied.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, that's good. No wonder you've helped like so many incredible people, Ed. I can feel it. I can feel that passion. And that is your true purpose is like you said, like we all have that greater calling and we need to raise the bar higher in our lives because a lot of times we're just either settling or because we're not enabling or empowering ourselves to accept and receive.
Spot on.
Yeah. So is there a story of one of your clients that kind of sticks out to you that you've helped, whether that's an athlete or, a business person or an everyday person that is kind of like broken through some of the tools that you've taught them?
Oh gosh.
I'm sure you have a lot.
Every person has a unique story.
Yeah.
From an athletic standpoint, a few years ago, I started working with a high school cross country athlete, and he, wants to get the scholarship and win the state championships. But there's this guy who's for the last 3 years has always beaten him by a couple minutes. And, every time he'd show up on the starting line, he was already beaten. So I found out about this at the end of the year. And, he'd lost to this guy 3 years in a row. It always at like a minute or two behind in a 5K race.
Yeah.
I only had 2 weeks to turn this kid around, but he was hungry. He was a good kid, really good kid, but he had just ingrained in himself, he's never going to beat Joe from down the street because he's beaten me for 3 years. Well, I took a look at how he was breathing. He was hyperventilating right off the starting line. So of course he got weaker as the race unfolds. He's depriving his brain of oxygen. His amygdala is flipping out.
Right.
So I had 2 weeks to train him in these various techniques that I can do that, give you basically higher altitude training, hypoxic training than you normally would at the altitude that you normally are. So in 2 weeks, he went to the state championship and he beat this kid first time in 3 years. He beat him by 90 seconds.
No
and
way.
Then he got the full ride to an Ivy League school.
Oh my gosh. That's so exciting.
In just 2 weeks, he was able to take a psychological and a physiological imprint of being beaten and then crushing this other gentleman.
In just 2 weeks.
I felt so much joy for him.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. You completely changed the trajectory of his life.
And then, from a business model, I've seen, businesses, stuck at whatever the number may be. The company that I was working for had been stuck at like $70 million and couldn't make any more money. And they were stuck there and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And one of the owners brought me in, and I came in under this health and wellness guys. Like, let's just get healthy and, be nicer to each other. And so in a 12-month period, the company went from like 80 million to $320 million. And they said, what was different? And all the owners and the managers said, the only thing that was different was we were doing privates with Ed. And what it did was it created a cleaner form of communication in the boardroom.
Hmm.
It wasn't like, I got you and you're wrong, or, whoever screams the loudest is, the most powerful. Folks were able to put kind of a governor on their emotional responses and begin to see the unity in all of our diversity. And we were all team members rather than individuals trying to push and pull all the time.
Right.
Bringing synergy to teams. When you start to control your breath as a group, it's like a metronome.
Hmm.
Everybody comes in, they have their own little heartbeat. But in a few minutes, those heartbeats are all going together. And the power of that, the human heart, the most coveted thing in the universe is a human heart.
Yeah.
And we got one.
Yeah. Oh my
And when you
God.
can start to work with other people from your heart rather than your ego, wow,
Game over.
it really
Right.
is.
It's so powerful. I think it almost like when you were talking about the breath being in sync, I'm thinking of like a row team, like all together in sync with their row, and probably their breath was in sync too, just like those powerful rowers. So
Exactly.
yeah. Oh my gosh. So cool. I love that. So can you talk about then your book, the IQ and EQ, live with breath. Um, just a little bit more about like what if people were to pick up the book, like what's inside the book or any certain things that you can share about that.
Yeah, so I tried to keep the book as simple as possible. I started out with some science, and just some benchmarks of things that we can scientifically prove
Okay.
about when you start to control your breath, you start to control your mindset. And we began to see that respiration rates, how many breaths you're taking per minute, is going to reflect your heart rate. So more breaths per minute, higher heart rate. There's heart disease, stroke, bad stuff. Less breaths per minute, lower heart rate.
Yeah.
Healthy blood pressure. Healthy blood pressure, optimal neurochemistry. Brain
Right.
senses safety. Amygdala tones down. Hippocampus tones up. More executive functioning. And when the brain senses safety, guess what? The body burns fat as fuel. It doesn't
Yeah.
store fat.
Yeah.
So you're burning fat as you move through your day. You're saving the glycogen for the brain. You're becoming more self-aware all the time. So
Yeah.
breath rates, heart rates, blood pressure, neurochemistry, body energy, mindset,
Mm-hmm.
deeply, deeply connected. Now, when you think about IQ, some folks are really gifted,
Yeah.
with IQ. Left brain dominant, can really work with memory, repetition. They're really, really skilled at that. Other folks have mastery over EQ, emotional quote, or emotional intelligence. They're very
Right.
sensitive to things that the left brain folks miss. So what we're trying to do through the breath is balance the two prefrontal cortexes, your right frontal lobe, your instincts, your intuition, going with your gut,
Hmm.
left frontal lobe, memorization, repetition, higher functioning. But what separates this is something called your corpus callosum. And
Okay.
it's a series of matted nerves. It's very, very primitive.
Hmm.
And the right brain doesn't even know there's a left brain over there. The left
Hmm.
brain doesn't even know there's a right brain over there.
I didn't think about
So
that.
when you begin to control your breathing, you allow both nostrils to be at 100%. One isn't more efficient or deficient than the other. In other words, when you go to the gym, you either want to do it or you don't want to do
Yeah.
it, right? You go in there, you go through your routine. And when
Hmm.
you walk back out to your car, you feel amazing.
Yeah.
Why do you feel amazing? Well, put your fingers underneath your nostrils. Both nostrils are 100%. What does that mean? It means that the right brain and the left brain are now talking to each other as we've electrified the corpus callosum of the brain, which
Whoa.
allows these two prefrontal cortexes to give you whole brain messages, not
Whoa.
fragmented, rushed, or dull. You're
Yeah.
using your whole prefrontal cortex of the conscious brain.
So
So,
it's so powerful.
so much of the early book is the science and how breath is about creating that mind body connection, even though there isn't mind in the anatomy books.
Very true. Oh my
So, it
gosh.
really is all about mind control, controlling your biology, controlling
Yeah.
your physiology, controlling your
Right.
psychological states, your
Yeah.
spiritual states.
For
And
everybody. For
then at the
everybody.
end of the book, I had a 30-day program, which was, starts out just at the beginning.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with being a beginner. Everything you become great at in your life, you were a beginner once. It's okay to be a beginner.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because when you're a beginner, you can't do anything wrong.
Right. So true. Good advice there. I so 30-day program that they could try after they're done reading the book,
Yeah.
and that's all inside the book, like the
It's
30-day
all
program?
there, and there's
Okay,
a
perfect.
video to go with it with the
Oh,
30
cool.
days to support the reading if you're
Oh,
a
that's amazing, and
video
yeah.
video.
We'll make sure to link, where people can purchase the book because that sounds incredible. It's like I love your scientific background with breath because that's just the knowledge. Obviously, we know that it's important, but yeah, you really bring it home on, the mental side of it, the body side of it, both of them together in harmony, IQ and EQ, and
Thank
yeah.
you.
Oh my gosh, thank you for putting that gift out in the world. That's
I appreciate you.
we all need it. So good. Okay, so then also you contribute to Breath Source,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
The Breath Source, I'm a partner and teacher on the Breath Source app. There's 50 breath masters from all over the globe using all sorts of different techniques and traditions. So there's going to be something there for you, whether you're into kind of the Eastern techniques or whether you're into the Western techniques. You're going to find a space on the breath source that you're going to be totally comfortable with. There's a great beginner section if you're just getting started out. And there's folks that can get you started there and hold your hand through the process of just getting control of your inhale and exhale, getting control of a more meditative mindset than a reactionary mindset.
Mhm.
There's a whole ton of advanced work on there too. So, if you have a background in breath and you want to enhance your knowledge of the breath, there's as many ways to take inhales and exhales as there is stars in the sky. I mean, it really is a very, very deep rabbit hole. I focused on my breath for the last 30 years. I practice every single day, and I've never done the same day twice. So it's
Interesting.
just like awareness. The more you do something,
Yeah.
stuff gets revealed to you. You're
Mm,
just following all these little rabbit holes and,
so
getting,
cool.
a little gray, a little silvery. It's great to be a lifelong learner, to keep
Yes.
becoming more aware, to stay curious
Good
about
advice.
life. And I think that's really the key to ourselves, but
I
also
agree.
sharing with others. So,
Yes.
the breath source is a great place if you're thinking about controlling your breath or looking for some stress reduction or
Yep.
maybe looking to lose a pound or two or
Yeah.
maybe adding it to your athletic routine. There's all sorts of different programs. It's going to take over the world. I'm really excited to be part of it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, it's a truly all of everybody a part of the Breastworks team is incredible and
Thank
launching
you.
2.0 soon, I heard. So there's
Yeah,
going to
it's
be some
just
new
launched.
updates. Just launched. Okay, good. I can't wait to check it out. That's
Thank
yeah.
you.
So some new updates coming with the 2.0. So I need to
Yeah,
check
it's
those
going to be
out.
a blast. So there's going to be
Good.
live classes coming on and breath exchange, and there's going to be
Mm,
retreats online, and uh, yeah, it's just a really good time to be in the breath business.
mhm.
When I first started 30 years ago, there nobody knew anything about the breath, and even now, 30 years later, it doesn't get a lot of play. Uh, and if you do have, the gift of uh, breath control, it's probably one of the greatest things you ever learned in your life because
Yeah.
it allows you to hack yourself.
That's so true. Yeah, yeah, hack yourself. I love it. We're
Yeah,
all about the biohacks these days and
yeah.
longevity, and
So
this is the
biohacking is
ultimate.
so important. There's so much. There's no reason these days not to be healthy. I mean, I'm not calling anybody out. I have my own challenges too.
Of course, of course.
But you look at peptides, you look at ketones, you look at what we can do, the neurotropics for the brain. You look
Mhm,
at what's going on with mushrooms. You look at how we're going on with exercise. You
mhm,
look at everything that's going on with breath. You look at some of the Eastern techniques. Look at all these techniques for our fascia.
mhm.
We are waking up as a species, and you watching this are part of the solution.
That's right. Amen. So
Yeah.
good, so good. Yeah, and breath is probably one of the best tools in that tool belt right there.
Oh, the greatest part about the breath is no matter what you're doing or what you want to do, it's going to get you where you want to go faster in
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So if you're an athlete and you want to get from point A to point B, you will get there faster with less risk of injury, better night's sleep, more enthusiasm. You'll be more efficient than someone who doesn't have skills in regard to breath. If you're in business and you want to try to figure out a way to cut medical costs and increase revenue, the breath is going to show you how to do this. If
Cool.
you're in the healthcare system and you're dealing with degenerative disease higher states of inflammatory markers, stress disorders, whether it's in the body or the mind. Okay, the breath is going to show you a way to get back to homeostasis. It's really one size fits all, but there's a lot of different techniques. And just take your time. And if you can just start by giving yourself 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
5 minutes in the morning.
Okay.
5 minutes before you go to sleep. I call them the bookends.
Yes.
If you can take care of the beginning and the end of your day with a little breath control, clear your mind, drop into your heart, your life will change in 2 weeks.
That's good. And using either tips from your book on what type of breath work practice to use with that, or the Breathsource app to help kind of lock in those 5 minutes.
Either way,
yeah,
whatever feels right to you and your gut. Just now is the time to get going.
Yes. And in just 2 weeks' time, like, imagine the world that it would be, Ed, if everybody took us up on that offer. Like, just do it.
It's happening. It's happening very, very quickly. Maybe it's not as fast as our ego wants it to happen, but our ego hasn't been right yet. So I'm betting heavy on humanity, and I like our chances.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to be, spoke on the wheel here as we move forward.
You are, and you've been a very, very just positive light and spoke for this movement because it is so powerful. So I'm grateful for everything that you do. You truly are on purpose, for a purpose. So keep doing what you're doing, Ed. You're amazing.
Right it back, Hatchet. You're such a great host. The questions were great. It really was. This made my day. I really appreciate it. Barry.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so grateful. So can you just remind people where to follow you, find you, like, social media, LinkedIn, all those type of things?
Yeah. So you can just go to my website, www.edharrold.com, and the whole world will light up for you there, and we can work together, or we can, whatever you want to do is fine with me. I just look forward just seeing a bigger smile on everybody's face as we push through these challenging times.
Oh, amen to that. Yes. And one breath at a time, collectively together.
Well, there's nobody on earth taking 2 breaths. So it's going to happen one breath at a time.
One breath at a time. Oh my gosh, I love it. Oh, well, grateful for you and your time, and we'll make sure to link everything in the show notes. And follow along with Ed with what he's doing, because he's doing incredible things. And then Breathsource team, they're the best out there. So I can't wait to try out the 2.0. And for everybody tuning in, share this with somebody who might need to hear this, and who maybe is dealing with, some stress, anxiety, depression, or anything, or even just wanting to uplevel their business like we talked about today, or, their athletic game. So it's for everybody. Share this, across the world. We need to get the word out, and we will, just change the world in 2 weeks. So thank you. Thank you, Ed. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see everybody inside Life Network soon. Take care.